Welcome to Right Now Workshop Podcast, where you can write a book and change the world. I'm your host, Kitty Bucholtz, and this is episode 107, Planted, Not Buried, an encouraging words episode coming to you on Sunday, November 4th, 2018. Well, it is the first Sunday of the month, and so it is encouraging words time. Though because it's National Novel Writing Month, there's a good chance you'll get more than one encouraging words episode this month, because I'm going to be hopefully very excited and possibly also needing encouragement, but maybe very excited and so I can give lots of encouragement. Don't worry, regardless of whether or not you are using National Novel Writing Month to start a new book, it doesn't matter. Because the point is that we write on the schedule that we have developed for ourselves. And if we use someone else's schedule, then that means that we have decided this will be our schedule for right now. And if we're not using someone else's schedule, it still doesn't matter. So don't worry about it. Harness the energy if you can. And if this is more like editing time or brainstorming time or something like that, don't worry about it. However, we can always use encouraging words episodes, right? I know I can. All right, so today I wanted to talk to you about something I've heard a few times over my life, and most recently it was last week. And so it's really on my mind, and it's stayed on my mind a lot, so I'm pretty sure that's just a good sign that my brain is really trying to work through getting the most out of, some interesting message that I heard. So basically, this is it. Imagine that you are planted, not buried. Okay, so sometimes you feel stuck. Maybe you feel stuck, like just a little bit stuck, like if you're walking in a bog, that kind of stuck, and you're like, I just have to work harder to pull my feet up and then find a way out of the bog. It's just really more annoying than anything else. Sometimes we feel waist deep stuck, like, holy cow, I'm really stuck and I can't get myself out of this. I need some help. I'm not panicking, but geez, I'm really stuck. And sometimes like when I've been talking about the worst that I felt during this burnout and, trying to get back up, it's good. I'm getting a lot better what I'm trying to say is I'm getting better. I'm healing. I'm not 100% there, but I'm way, way better than I was in April, say. So when you're feeling like that, that's like the really, really buried kind of stuck, like lost and alone, overwhelmed by the world, not having any idea which side is up and therefore which way to even dig out kind of stuck. But imagine for a second, if you can, it is autumn in the northern hemisphere and spring in the southern hemisphere as we're talking. So there are some flowers, seeds and bulbs, that sort of thing, that are going to be planted in the spring because things are getting a little bit warmer, a little bit sunnier, a little bit brighter, or we can definitely see summer is coming. And so they get planted at that time when you can see things are going to be getting better every day. Well, it's weather, so maybe not every day. But sometimes you have different kinds of plants that you're going to actually prepare for in the autumn. So for instance, some kinds of bulb type flowers. You're actually planting them in the autumn when it's going to get darker and colder and more bitter and darker and colder. Like the ground is actually going to be frozen solid in some areas of the world during the winter. And yet we just put a living thing into the ground that we want to be alive and bright and beautiful in 6 months. What were we thinking? Imagine that maybe there is a gardener in your life. You know that I believe in God if you've been listening to this podcast for more than an episode or two. Imagine there's somebody who knows what they're doing, a good gardener, not somebody like me. I'm not a good gardener. I can keep things alive for a very short amount of time. So imagine a good gardener has planted you someplace because they know that this is not burying you. This is not burying you as in it's dead, let's hide it, it'll be out of our way and out of our hair forever. But planting so that some things are going to happen, probably a lot of which the flower couldn't possibly know. And then months later, this amazing, beautiful thing happens. It gets warmer, the bulb does its little thing, and the flower, you can tell how much I don't know about gardening. The flower does come up though. It comes up out of the ground. Have you ever seen a crocus in the spring in a snowbank? Because I have, and I'm like, there's a flower. There's a flower with like 3 blades of grass and surrounded by a snowbank. What? What? I don't understand. It's the most amazing thing ever. I mean, talk about something that gives you hope after a cold, dark period in your life. So I want you to think about planted, not buried. Maybe this isn't the right time for you to be hearing this episode. Maybe you don't feel at all buried or not even planted. I don't know. Maybe you feel like you are just the flower right now, soaking up the sun, reflecting back the light, and being beautiful to everyone. In which case, yay! But think about planted, not buried. Think about whether or not there is a different way that you could look at one or more circumstances in your life. Might be just one little thing. Might be one big thing, but it's not your entire life. Is there another way that you could look at it so that you could say, okay, I'm going to take it on faith that this is somehow going to turn out okay or better, or some good thing will come out of it, even if it's a horrible thing. Is there some good thing that could come out of it? Absolutely. We read about these stories every day. You know, somebody will lose a precious loved one in their life, but then they go on to start an organization or a foundation that works on developing a cure for a disease, or helps other people to be funded so that they can get medical care. You know, you hear those kinds of stories all the time. And those are the big ones, you know, and there's a ton of other things that happen. Somebody will lose somebody in a drunk driving accident, and they start a movement that becomes, say, Moms Against Drunk Drivers. I remember having that when I was in high school. So whether it's a big thing or a little thing, is there some way that you could look at it and just hang on to the hope that this is not being buried, whatever it is that you're in right now, or whatever it is that your friend is in right now, that you could help them to see that there's hope, that they are planted, that something is going to grow and thrive and live out of this at some point that you don't know in the future. And maybe we're just talking about our books. There are days, and you'll feel this way if you're going to be, you know, trying to hurry and write an entire book in 30 days in November. There are days when you think, oh my gosh, I just feel buried by whatever it is. Too many ideas, lack of ideas, too many words that don't make sense, you know, the overwhelmingness of trying to reach the middle of your book in the middle of the month and feeling like, how are you going to get to the end in that 50,000 word mark? Or, you know, any of these things could be a place where you could stop and think, okay, am I planted or am I buried? Is there a reason for me to hope things are going to work out great? Can I find a way out of this idea of feeling like I'm just buried, lost, forgotten forever? Because I think that there's always a place for that. I can't always see it myself, just like you can't always see it yourself. But there is always, if someone will remind you, a way that you can find to look at it differently and to give yourself hope, to give your friend hope, or your family member, or just to have a light coming out of you because you have some hope that maybe you haven't even put your finger on, that other people look at you and think, wow, that person, she or he looks kind of more hopeful than I would have expected under the circumstances. I wonder why, you know, and it might lead somebody else to also start thinking, well, if they have hope, I could have hope. So it can really be a fabulous ripple effect, starting with you. I hope that you find this encouraging. I hope that you are going to have a great, great week. And if you're working on a new project right now during National Novel Writing Month, good luck, have fun. Think of it as fun as much as you can. Don't let yourself get buried under the negativity of, I don't think there's any way I could possibly do this because I'm already so far behind. I feel that way every single time that I do it. And yet by the end, sometimes I'm writing 10,000 words a day because I finally figured out what the story was somewhere around halfway through, you know? So besides, these are other people's arbitrary deadlines and goals. You can just make up your own deadlines and your own goals. Remember that. All right. Once again, hope that you're finding this encouraging. Have a fabulous week, and we'll talk to you later.